Hi, and welcome to an chat about being finite. So, I think all of us have been very saturated recently. There's so much going on in our lives, and it seems like no matter how fast we pedal, we're not going to be able to catch up with the amount of work that has to be done, with meeting with the requests that are being made of us, and sometimes it seems like all those things are important, right? There's so many important things to do. How can we live at the pace at which I think is human? I want to argue that the frenzied pace of work and living that many of us experience, I think especially where I am here in Singapore, is not quite human. I think we are treating ourselves and other people practically like machines, right? And even machines will break down if you don't let it rest, if you don't let it take breaks. I mean, if you don't turn it off every now and then, right? So really, that's the way that we've been living. But we struggle against it so much. So I've noticed something, that when people take a little longer to, let's say, reply to my emails, they tend to say, oh no, so sorry for the silence, or so sorry for taking so long to reply. And that's something that I find myself sometimes tempted to do too. If I take a few days to reply an email, let's say, over the weekend, an email comes in on Friday and I decide I'm not going to respond to it until Monday, I feel this guilt, right? That I'm not responding fast enough. But the thing is, right, if we always act quickly and everybody acts quickly in return, that just increases the pace. And sometimes the reason we take a little bit more time is because, not just because we're busy, but because we want to take the time that's necessary to sit with it. At least that's the case for me, right? Sometimes I want to have a bit of time to sit with a question that was asked me in an email, maybe for some advice or something, or if there's a request for me to do something, I don't want to immediately respond with a knee-jerk reaction. I want to wait till I have a bit of capacity and really listen to how I'm actually responding to that request. What are my feelings, what are my thoughts, how's my body feeling about it? Because all these things, and this is something that I teach, they help us to listen to our true response to a situation, right? Am I reacting to a request? Am I responding to it out of a habit, out of force of habit, out of fear, out of anxiety, out of obligation, or is my response truly coming out of freedom? So this is something that I try to practice, and it takes time to do it. And when there are many things to decide, and when every day, or I find the need to kind of recalibrate, I'm off balance again, like what's going on, I need to pause, I need to stop. And what's the price I have to pay? Things move a little more slowly, actually a lot more slowly than the pace that's going on all around me, right? It's a deliberate choice that I make to try and retreat from that frenzied pace, because I need to, in order to hear, to listen, right? To actually hear what's really going on at a deeper level of my own life, and what's going on around me. And that's necessary if I am to make wise decisions. But I still struggle with it. I struggle with it, with the fact that if I were to make space for being, for thinking. And I'm telling you, it's not even like I have a lot of time. Right now in this season of my life, there's no luxury to have time to reflect and read, and be. Those times are very important. But right now in this season of my life, that's not the main thing, right? So I'm really just talking about making space and giving myself time to not get out of control and be mindless about the work that I'm doing and what I'm doing. Because the moment I enter into the kind of space, I will be very ineffective, right? There will be no depth to my reflections. I would lose any ability to really have sharp insights into situations, into my own circumstance or into somebody else's circumstance that I'm journeying with. But what is the cost? The cost is I have less time to meet with people. I can't catch up with friends socially. I hardly do, because between client work and the time that I need to do my podcast and all that background work, a lot of background work, my own learning about business and learning new tech, to do little things like create this video and maybe some simple editing and putting it up on the web, and having time to pause and to reflect and to be still, and to not neglect my relationship with my husband and with my closest ones. That just means sometimes I feel a little bit out of touch with the world. And sometimes I resist that also because I want to be able to be present to those that I'm meant to be present to, right? But that means that when I'm done with being present to the work and the people that I need to be present to, I'm spent. I'm done. I don't want to have to connect with another human being, like really, seriously, And I'm an extrovert, I'm not an introvert. It's a price I find that I pay to surrender relationships, because I just cannot handle all the requests sometimes, good requests, people that I do want to be able to respond to, answer, and meet. But so that it's done so that I can honor the ones that I am with. So let me tell you a little story. I lived in Toronto, Canada for about 9 years. I went there for my university, and I stayed on for graduate studies. And when I first went to Canada from Singapore, and Toronto is is a metropolis, okay? It's like the biggest city or the busiest city. I think it's the biggest city also in Canada, and it's probably the place where things are the fastest in Canada. But moving there from Singapore, I felt everything was so slow, and something as simple as going to the bank. Okay, so if you're in Singapore, we're used to, if we step into the bank and there can be a long line, okay, and it's laid out where you wait, right? But the line moves pretty quickly. You don't expect to have to wait 15 minutes or half an hour just to move one or two places, right? But the thing is also, when you reach the counter, when it's your turn, everything's just very functional, right? Because you didn't want to be kept waiting, and you don't want other people to be kept waiting, and you just do your business and you get your whatever you need to do done, and you move. I remember one of the first times I went to the bank in Toronto, and I think I was second in line, and I was happy to say, oh, I'm second in line, there's no line, right? It's going to be really fast, it's going to be my turn. And no, I waited a long time. I can't remember, but it felt like a really long time to me, okay? Because in Singapore time, I would have been done, but I was still waiting. And I remember feeling pretty impatient, because I'm like, why is it taking so long at the counter? And then finally, I was the next in line, right? And when it was my turn, like I saw, there was a place at the counter for me, and I was expecting the customer service agent, the lady behind the counter, to wave me over, and she didn't. Instead, she turned and said something to her colleague. Right? They had a brief little interlude chit chat there. I felt pretty annoyed. I remember, because I've been waiting I think 20 minutes at that point just to move 1 or 2 places, and then finally she waved me over, and I was at the counter and I was in front of her, and I tell you, the moment she spoke to me, it felt like everything was forgiven, because she was not just friendly. I mean, I'm used to friendly customer service, and there's a smile and you're polite, but she was present. To me, when she asked me, how I was doing, she meant it. She wanted to know if I was new to Canada. When I told her I was here for university, she asked me how things were going. She was interested. She actually was interested in having a conversation with me. Now, I wasn't expecting that at a bank. If you asked me if it was important to have these kind of conversations at the bank, I would have said no. But, I was in a new city. And that little bit of presence and interest that the person showed me just made me feel welcome. Right? It made me feel welcome. And as we did what we needed to do, what I needed to do, I also needed a little guidance because I was new, right? I already set up a new account. It wasn't about setting a new account. But she was so patient in guiding me through the steps that I needed to take, in asking me if there was anything else I needed to know, right? So we took maybe 10 minutes, 11 minutes, at maybe 10 at the counter, for something that back in Singapore may have just taken, 5 minutes. So, maybe it's twice the amount of time. But I felt like I had an encounter. And when I left, when I was done, I was smiling when I left the bank. Okay. And I wasn't smiling because I was walking away with a payout, a cash payout or something. I was smiling because I had been ministered to by someone's presence. There was kindness, right? So what's the cost of having that kind of presence? Well, it takes time, and people might have to wait, right, to get there. But when people actually get there, it's their turn. They are seen, they are heard. I have found myself recently often remembering that particular incident, that particular experience, because when I make my clients wait, a longer time to see me, because I want to make sure that I can be present with each of them and that I have enough buffer time to recover after a session, when I want to make sure that I'm not taking on too many evening sessions because I need to have time with my husband to wind down together, because I want to make sure that I'm still present to myself, right? And I'm not doing all these things easily, okay? It's a new season of my life. I'm still trying to figure out sometimes, what's the balance. But it often means I feel like I have to make people wait to meet me socially, wait to see me professionally, wait to hear from me. And I struggle with that. And I wonder how many other people, how many of you may be rushing from one thing to the next, feeling like you cannot stop because you don't dare to let people wait, because you don't dare to be finite, to be limited. We have the same amount of time per day. All of us have different kind of capacities, right? Different mental capacities, emotional capacities. Let's not judge and try and compare. We are all made and designed differently. But the point is, we're all finite. We're different kinds of vessels. Can we stop being apologetic and ashamed of our capacity and limit and start embracing it? What would happen if we just paid attention to the life that we can offer if we honored our limit? The life we can offer to others and to ourselves if we honored our limit. So that's my invitation for you today. If you could just think, what ways are you struggling right now in terms of your limitation? And what could happen if, instead of fighting it and trying to push yourself and break the design that you're made with, you can embrace it? What difference might that make for you and for others? That's it for today's chat. See you the next time.